Lieutenant He-Jin Kim stared at the massive space station through the viewing window of the UES Dauntless. The station was bigger than anything humans had ever built, floating silently in the darkness of space. Its metal surface was covered in strange markings that glowed with a faint blue light. "Lieutenant Kim, what do you see?" Captain Lee Do-hyun's voice came through He-Jin's radio. The captain always trusted He-Jin's engineering judgment. "Sir, it's definitely not human-made. The metal alloys are unlike anything in our database," He-Jin said, checking his tablet. "But the basic structure follows universal engineering principles. Whoever built this knew what they were doing." The Dauntless had found the station by accident while mapping this unexplored region of space. It was the first solid proof that humans weren't alone in the universe. The discovery should have been exciting, but something felt wrong. The station appeared to be in perfect condition, yet it was completely empty. "Permission to board with the investigation team, sir?" He-Jin asked. He had been waiting for this moment his whole career. Captain Lee's response was quick. "Granted. Take technical specialist Kang and 2 security officers with you. Stay alert." 20 minutes later, He-Jin floated through the station's airlock with his team. Their magnetic boots clicked against the metal floor as artificial gravity kicked in. The air was breathable, according to their instruments, but they kept their helmets on as a precaution. The corridors were tall and wide, built for beings about human size. Every few meters, there were signs in an alien language. They all seemed to point towards something, getting more frequent as the team moved deeper into the station. "Sir," technical specialist Kang Mi-rae called out. She was examining one of the signs with her scanner. "These markers all have the same basic pattern. I think they're warnings." He-Jin nodded. In engineering, warning signs were universal. Even without understanding the language, he could tell from the sharp angles and repeated symbols that these were telling people to stay away from something. The team reached a large circular door. Unlike the other doors they'd passed, this one had red markings all around it. A control panel nearby was flashing with different colored lights. "This has to be important," He-Jin said, moving closer to study the panel. "The design is complex, but I can see the logic in it. It's like our emergency systems, just more advanced." Before he could examine it further, the station's lights suddenly brightened. A soft humming filled the air, and new symbols appeared on the walls, glowing with urgent red light. "Lieutenant," one of the security officers called out. "Movement detected at the far docking port. A ship is approaching." He-Jin's radio crackled with Captain Lee's voice. "Lieutenant, we have company. A vessel just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. It's bigger than the Dauntless, and its design matches the station's architecture." Through the station's windows, He-Jin could see it. A massive ship with smooth lines and the same glowing blue markings as the station. Its appearance answered one big question. The station's builders were still around. "Sir," He-Jin reported, "we're in what appears to be a restricted area. There are warning signs everywhere, and they lead to some kind of special control room." "Return to the Dauntless immediately," Captain Lee ordered. "We need to be ready for first contact." As He-Jin's team turned to leave, one of the alien ship's lights blinked in a clear pattern. Even across the gulf of space, the message was clear. They had found something they weren't supposed to find. Looking back at the circular door one last time, He-Jin noticed a large button on the control panel. Above it was the most prominent warning sign of all, its symbols practically screaming danger. Whatever this place was, its owners had gone to great lengths to keep people away from that button. He-Jin didn't know it yet, but that button would soon become the center of a crisis that would change human-alien relations forever. Dr. Park Jae-yun had not slept in 20 hours. She sat in the Dauntless's science lab, surrounded by screens showing the alien writing from the station. Her eyes were tired, but she couldn't stop working. This was the most important translation of her career. "I think I've found a pattern," she told He-Jin, who stood nearby drinking his third cup of coffee. Their language uses shapes to show how urgent a message is. The more points a symbol has, the more serious the warning. He-Jin looked at the screens, and that button we found. Its warning had the most points I've seen. Exactly. Park pointed to her translation software. The basic message seems to be about some kind of containment system. They keep using words that mean danger and unstable. Captain Lee entered the lab, looking worried. The alien ship is still watching us. They haven't tried to talk yet. What have you found? Park showed him her work. Captain, this station isn't abandoned by accident. They left in a hurry because something went wrong. The warning signs talk about quantum energy and containment failure. He-Jin stepped closer to one of the screens. Sir, I recognize some of these engineering diagrams. They're similar to our reactor safety systems, just much more advanced. But something looks off about their design. He pointed to a complex series of circuits. See how many backup systems they have. It's like they tried to solve every possible problem at once. But sometimes, too many safety measures can cause new problems. The ship's computer beeped with an urgent message. Captain, the bridge officer's voice came through. The alien vessel is sending a transmission. They want to talk. Everyone rushed to the bridge. On the main screen, they saw their first alien. The being looked almost like a tall human, but with silver skin and large dark eyes. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into a flat, mechanical voice. I am First Speaker Nixis of the Meridian Unity, the alien said. You have entered a restricted research facility. Your presence here risks great danger. Leave immediately. Captain Lee stepped forward. I am Captain Lee Do-hyun of the Earth ship Dauntless. We mean no harm. We found your station by accident, and we're trying to learn about your people. Your species is not ready for the technology in that station, Nixis said. Their voice carried a tone of superiority that made He-Jin frown. The quantum containment systems are beyond your understanding. Leave now, or we will remove you. He-Jin couldn't stay quiet. First Speaker, we've translated your warning signs. We understand there's a problem with your containment system. Maybe we can help. The alien's expression changed to something like shock. You translated our language. Impossible. You are a primitive species. You cannot comprehend our quantum engineering. Before anyone could respond, alarms started blaring from both ships. On the main screen, they could see new lights flashing all over the station. Something was happening inside. Energy readings are spiking. Technical specialist Kang reported from her station. Whatever that containment system is holding, it's becoming unstable. The Meridian ship suddenly moved closer. First Speaker Nixis's voice now held a trace of fear. This is impossible. The safety systems should prevent any instability. We need to activate the emergency protocols immediately. He-Jin looked at the station readings on his screen. The Meridian's complex safety systems were fighting each other, making the problem worse. Sometimes, he thought, the simplest solution was the best one. He turned to Captain Lee. Sir, I think I know what that button does now. And I think we're going to need it. First Speaker Nixis's face filled the main screen of the Dauntless. The alien's silver skin seemed to shimmer with anger. Your presence has disturbed the quantum fields. You must leave immediately while we correct this situation. Captain Lee stood firm at his command station. With respect, First Speaker, we cannot abandon this area while there's a risk to both our ships. Let us help you solve this problem. Help us? Nixis made a sound that might have been a laugh. Your species has barely mastered space travel. The quantum technology in that station took us centuries to develop. You cannot comprehend its complexity. He-Jin studied the readings from the station. The energy levels were still rising. He watched as the Meridian ship sent commands to the station's computers. Each command made the situation slightly worse. Captain, He-Jin said quietly, their safety systems are fighting each other. They've added so many backups and fail-safes that the system can't decide which protocol to follow. The ship shook as a wave of energy pulsed from the station. Warning lights flashed across every console on the bridge. Technical specialist Kang's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Sir," she reported, "the station's power core is becoming more unstable. At this rate, we have maybe 2 hours before critical failure." First speaker Nixus was now talking to someone off-screen, their voice sharp with concern. The Meridian ship's engines glowed brighter as they sent more power to the station. "Your methods will not work," Dr. Park said suddenly, stepping forward. "We've analyzed your warning signs. Your own scientists knew this could happen. That's why they left the emergency shutdown control in place." The alien leader turned back to the screen. "You know nothing of our methods, human. This station contains the most advanced containment system ever built. Its safety protocols are perfect." Another energy wave hit both ships. This one was stronger. He-Jin watched as more warning lights appeared on the Meridian vessel. Their perfect system was falling apart. Captain Lee looked at He-Jin. "Lieutenant, explain what you're seeing. Keep it simple." He-Jin took a deep breath. "The station's quantum core is overloading. The Meridians have built layers of safety systems to prevent this, but they're too complicated. Each system is trying to fix the problem in a different way. They're canceling each other out." He brought up a diagram on the main screen. "It's like having too many cooks in the kitchen. Sometimes you need just one person making the decisions. That's what that button is for. A simple, direct shutdown." "Impossible," Nixus interrupted. "The quantum harmonics require precise adjustment. The containment fields must be balanced perfectly. A simple shutdown would be catastrophic." The station pulsed again. This time, the lights on both ships flickered. He-Jin could see fear in the aliens' large eyes now. Their perfect technology was failing, and they couldn't accept that the solution might be simple. "First speaker," He-Jin said firmly, "your own scientists left that button for a reason. They knew that sometimes you need a backup plan, a last resort that cuts through all the complexity." Nixus's silver skin darkened with what looked like anger or maybe fear. "You will not touch our technology. If you attempt to enter the station, we will be forced to stop you." Captain Lee turned to He-Jin. "How sure are you about this?" "Sir," He-Jin answered, looking straight at his captain, "engineering follows universal laws. Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. And right now, we're running out of time to try anything else." He-Jin and technical specialist Kang sat in the Dauntless's engineering room, surrounded by holographic displays of the station's systems. They had been studying the Meridian technology for hours, trying to understand why such advanced aliens would leave an emergency shutdown button. "Look at this," Kang said, pointing to a diagram. "Their safety systems are beautiful, but they're too perfect. They tried to plan for everything at once." He-Jin nodded. He understood what she meant. The Meridians had created layers upon layers of protection. Each layer washed the others, creating a web of interconnected systems. But now that web was tangled, and the station was choking on its own safety protocols. "It's like they forgot the first rule of engineering," He-Jin said, drawing on his military training. "Keep it simple when lives are at stake." The ship's computer beeped. A new message from the Meridian vessel appeared on their screens. It showed their chief engineer, Ixel, attempting another complex solution. The alien's fingers moved quickly over glowing controls, but the station's energy readings only grew worse. "They're trying to balance the quantum fields by adding more containment protocols," Kang said, shaking her head. "It's making everything more unstable." He-Jin stood up and walked to the main engineering display. He brought up the original warning signs from the station. Dr. Park's translations appeared beside them, showing the history of the facility. "The Meridians built this station to research quantum energy," he said, "but something went wrong. The containment systems started fighting each other. Instead of shutting everything down, they kept adding more safety measures." Kang looked at the emergency button's controls. The button's design is different from everything else in the station. It's almost human in its simplicity. That's it, He-Jin said suddenly. The Meridian scientists who built this place, they must have realized their mistake. They added the button as a last resort, a way to cut through all the complexity when everything else failed. The ship shook as another energy pulse hit them. The station's core was growing more unstable by the minute. On their screens, they could see the Meridian ship's crew trying increasingly desperate solutions. "Sir," Kang said quietly, "if we don't do something soon, both ships will be in danger. That quantum core could take out everything in this sector." He-Jin looked at the station through the viewing window. The Meridians were brilliant engineers, but they had fallen into a common trap. They had made their systems so perfect, so complete, that they couldn't see the simple solution anymore. "I need to talk to the captain," He-Jin said. "I think I know why that button is there, and why it has to be simple." Sometimes the bravest thing an engineer can do is admit that simple is better than perfect. As they headed to the bridge, He-Jin thought about his years of military engineering training. The Meridians saw humans as primitive, but maybe that was their advantage. Sometimes you needed fresh eyes to see the obvious solution. The station's lights pulsed again, stronger this time. They were running out of time. He-Jin knew what he had to do, even if it meant going against the wishes of an advanced alien species. Sometimes the right answer was the simple one, no matter who it came from. The bridge of the Dauntless was silent except for the steady beeping of warning alarms. Captain Lee stood at his command station, watching as the Meridian ship tried another failed solution. First Speaker Nix's face showed clear worry now, even through the alien features. "Our containment protocols are not responding," Nixis announced, their voice tight with concern. "We are initiating Emergency Protocol Level 9. He-Jin stepped forward. "Sir, requesting permission to speak freely." Captain Lee nodded. "Go ahead, Lieutenant." First Speaker, He-Jin said, addressing the alien leader, "Your emergency protocols are making things worse. The quantum core is rejecting them because there are too many conflicting commands." The station pulsed again, and this time the lights on both ships went completely dark for several seconds before backup power activated. Technical Specialist Kang's voice cut through the darkness from her station. "Energy readings are approaching critical levels," she reported. "The containment field is failing. We have less than 30 minutes before total system collapse." On the main screen, they could see the Meridian crew working frantically. Chief Engineer Ixel was directing teams of technicians, each group trying different solutions. But with every attempt, the station's core became more unstable. "This is impossible," Ixel said, their silver skin pale with fear. "Our systems are perfect. The containment protocols cannot fail." Dr. Park spoke up from her station, where she was still translating Meridian technical data. "Your own scientists predicted this. That's why they left the manual override. The button is designed to cut through all the protocols at once." First Speaker Nixis turned sharply. "You cannot understand our technology. A simple shutdown would cause a cascade failure. The quantum harmonics must be balanced precisely." Another energy wave hit, stronger than before. The Dauntless's hull groaned under the strain. Warning lights flashed across every console, showing critical systems under stress. "Captain," He-Jin said quietly, "I know what will happen if we press that button." The Meridian scientists who built this place knew their system was too complex. They'd left a way out, but it had to be simple enough to work when everything else failed. Captain Lee looked at his engineer for a long moment. "You're certain about this?" "Yes, sir. Sometimes the best solution is the simplest one. The Meridians have made their systems too perfect, too complicated. They can't see the easy answer anymore." On the screen, they could see the Meridian ship's engines starting to fail as the energy waves grew stronger. First Speaker Nixis was giving orders rapidly, but nothing seemed to help. "Sir," Kang reported, "the station's core will reach critical mass in 20 minutes. When it goes, it will take both ships with it. He-Jin stepped closer to his captain. "Sir, I need to get to that control room. That button is our last chance." Captain Lee looked at the failing station, then at the Meridian ship struggling to maintain control. He turned to First Speaker Nixus, who was still desperately trying to solve the crisis with complex solutions. "First Speaker," Captain Lee said firmly, "we are going to help you, whether you want it or not. The lives of both our crews are at stake." He-Jin headed for the bridge door, knowing what he had to do. Behind him, he could hear First Speaker Nixus beginning to protest, but there was no more time for debate. Sometimes, he thought, you had to trust in simple solutions, even when they seemed too easy to be true. He-Jin moved quickly through the station's corridors. The emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls, and he could feel the vibrations of the failing quantum core through his boots. Behind him, technical specialist Kang watched their backs, making sure the path stayed clear. "Lieutenant, you have 15 minutes before critical failure." Captain Lee's voice came through the radio. "The Meridians are threatening to board the station to stop you." "Understood, sir," He-Jin replied, checking his tablet map. They were getting close to the control room with the button. The warning signs on the walls were flashing faster now, their alien symbols seeming to pulse with urgency. First Speaker Nix's voice cut through their communications. "Human engineer, stop immediately. You will destroy everything. Our systems require precise calibration. A simple shutdown will cause catastrophic failure." He-Jin kept moving. The station shook again, harder this time. From somewhere deep inside, they heard the sound of metal stretching under enormous pressure. The quantum core was reaching its breaking point. "Sir," Kang reported, checking her instruments, "energy levels are still climbing. The Meridian safety protocols are fighting each other. Each new protocol they add makes it worse." They reached the circular door to the control room. It was already open, the emergency systems having released the locks. Inside, He-Jin could see the control panel with the infamous button. It looked almost too simple among all the complex Meridian technology. 10 minutes to critical failure," Kang said, her voice steady despite the danger. "The Meridian ship is losing power. Their engines are failing." He-Jin stepped into the control room. The button was protected by a clear cover, marked with the most serious warning symbols they had seen. Around it, Meridian computers showed complicated diagrams of the failing containment systems. "Lieutenant Kim," Chief Engineer Ixel's voice came through now, sounding desperate. "Our sensors show you in the control room. Please understand, that control is primitive. It cannot safely manage the quantum harmonics. You must let us handle this with proper protocols." The station shook violently. He-Jin grabbed the control panel to stay upright. Through the room's window, he could see parts of the station starting to glow with dangerous energy. "Sometimes," He-Jin said calmly, "the simplest solution is the right one. Your scientists knew this. That's why they left this button. When everything else fails, you need a clean shutdown." He looked at the button's design. It was different from everything else in the station. No complex interfaces, no multiple steps. Just a single, clear action that would cut through all the complicated safety systems at once. 5 minutes, Kang reported. "The core is approaching critical mass." He-Jin took a deep breath. Years of military engineering training had taught him to trust his judgment. Sometimes courage meant doing the simple thing, even when everyone else wanted complex solutions. "He-Jin," Captain Lee's voice was clear and firm. "Whatever you're going to do it now." He reached for the button's cover. On the radio, he could hear the Meridians protesting, their voices rising with fear and anger. But he knew they were wrong. Their own brilliant scientists had left this solution, knowing someday it would be needed. The cover lifted easily. The button beneath was large and red, exactly like every emergency shutdown he had ever seen. Some engineering principles, He-Jin thought, were truly universal. He pressed the button. For 3 long seconds after He-Jin pressed the button, nothing happened. The station continued to shake, and the warnings kept flashing. Then suddenly, everything went quiet. The quantum core's dangerous glow faded. The warning lights turned off one by one. The vibrations in the floor stopped. Through the control room window, Ho-Jin watched as the station's systems shut down in a smooth, orderly sequence. Status report. Captain Lee's voice came through the radio, breaking the silence. Technical specialist Kang checked her instruments. Sir, energy readings are dropping rapidly. The quantum core is powering down. All containment systems are stabilizing. On their communication screens, the Meridians stared in disbelief. First Speaker Nixus's silver face showed a mix of relief and confusion. Chief Engineer Ixel was reviewing data readings, shaking their head in amazement. Impossible, Ixel said quietly. The shutdown sequence. It's perfect. No quantum cascade. No system failures. Just a clean, complete shutdown. Ho-Jin smiled. Not impossible. Just simple. Your scientists designed this button to bypass all the complex protocols. Sometimes that's exactly what you need. The Dauntless's science officer, Dr. Park, spoke up from her station. I finished translating more of the station's records. The original research team saw this coming. They knew their safety systems were becoming too complicated. She displayed a translated document on their screens. They wrote, "In our pursuit of perfect safety, we have created perfect danger. The systems no longer work together. We leave this override as our last gift. When all else fails, remember, complexity must bow to simplicity." First Speaker Nixus was quiet for a long moment. When they spoke again, their voice had lost its earlier superiority. We had forgotten. In our drive to make everything perfect, we lost sight of basic engineering wisdom. Captain Lee's voice was firm but kind. First Speaker, perhaps this is an opportunity. Both our species have something to teach each other. Ho-Jin and Kang began running diagnostics on the station's systems. Everything was shutting down properly, exactly as the original scientists had planned. The simple button had done what hundreds of complex safety protocols could not. The quantum core is now in stable shutdown, Kang reported. All systems are secure. The station is safe. Chief Engineer Ixel asked to speak privately with Ho-Jin. On a separate channel, the alien engineer's voice was humble. "Lieutenant Kim, I must know. How did you know the button would work?" Ho-Jin thought about his answer carefully. In the military, we learned that complicated plans often fail under pressure. Good engineering isn't about having the most advanced solution. It's about having the right solution. He looked at the simple red button that had saved both ships. Your scientists understood this. That's why they made sure the final safety system was something any engineer would recognize. Some principles are truly universal. The Meridian engineer was quiet for a moment. Then they said something that would change the relationship between their species forever. "Lieutenant Kim, would you be willing to teach us about human engineering principles? Perhaps we have become too focused on perfection and forgotten the value of simplicity." As Ho-Jin looked out at the now peaceful station, he realized this crisis had done more than just prevent a disaster. It had proven that humans, despite their primitive technology, had something valuable to teach even the most advanced species in the galaxy. 3 months after the quantum station incident, Ho-Jin stood in a new control room. This one was on Earth's largest space station, where human and Meridian engineers worked together. The walls showed both human and alien writing, and the control panels mixed both species technology. The simple shutdown system worked perfectly in our latest test, Technical Specialist Kang reported. She stood next to a Meridian engineer, both of them checking readings on a shared display. First Speaker Nixus, who had become the official ambassador to Earth, nodded in approval. "We have learned much from your human approach to engineering. Sometimes, the most elegant solution is also the simplest." The Quantum Research Station had become a symbol of cooperation between humans and Meridians. After the crisis, both species had agreed to work together. The Meridians brought their advanced technology, while the humans contributed their practical engineering wisdom. Captain Lee sends his regards, Ho-Jin told Nixis. He's overseeing the new joint training program for space crews. The program taught both human and Meridian engineers to balance complex technology with simple solutions. Chief Engineer Ixel approached with a tablet showing new designs. The Meridian engineer had become one of the strongest supporters of human engineering principles. Lieutenant Kim, we have finished the new safety protocols. They follow your suggestion. Simple primary controls, with complex systems as backup only. He-Jin reviewed the designs. The Meridians had kept their advanced technology, but added clear, simple emergency controls that any engineer could understand. It was the perfect blend of both approaches. We have a saying on Earth, He-Jin said. Keep it simple. Your quantum technology is incredible, but now it has reliable backup systems that can't fail from being too complex. Dr. Park entered the control room with more translated documents. Over the past months, she had discovered that many Meridian scientists had warned about the dangers of overcomplicated systems. Their voices had been ignored, but now their wisdom was being remembered. The original station scientists would be proud, she said. Their emergency button did more than prevent a disaster. It brought our species together. The new joint engineering team gathered for their daily meeting. Humans and Meridians sat together, sharing ideas and learning from each other. On the main screen, they could see the old quantum station, now being rebuilt with new safety systems that combine the best of both worlds. We have added something to the station's new control room, Nixis announced. They displayed an image on the screen. Next to the quantum core's controls was a simple plaque in both human and Meridian writing. It read, "Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one." He-Jin smiled. The crisis had taught both species valuable lessons. The Meridians had learned that perfect complexity wasn't always the answer. The humans had proven that being less advanced didn't mean being less wise. There's one more thing, Kang said. She pointed to the new emergency shutdown button they had designed together. We added an extra warning sign, just to be clear. Below the button was a note in both languages. Yes, this button says do noti PRESS. But if you need it, trust your engineering judgment. As He-Jin looked around the control room at humans and Meridians working together, he realized that sometimes the simplest things, like a clearly labeled button, could build bridges between the stars.